He had owned firearms legally for over 2 decades, paid every fee, filed every form, jumped through every single hoop the government put in front of him. And last month, while he was still doing all of that the old way, the ATF quietly changed the rules underneath him. Not one change, not two. 34 proposed and final rule changes dropped in a single week. The most significant regulatory overhaul the ATF has announced in its entire history. And most gun owners still have no idea it happened. We are going to cover the 5 that affect you directly, what changed, what it means for your wallet, and the one critical mistake that could cost you everything, even with the new rules on your side. If this channel is where you get your gun law updates the moment they happen, hit subscribe and the notification bell right now. 2 seconds. It costs you nothing. And the next change that affects your rights will be waiting for you the moment it drops. Let's get into it. On April 29, 2026, the Department of Justice and the ATF released a landmark package of 34 proposed and final rule changes. The announcement came directly from newly confirmed ATF Director Robert Cekada, who called it, and I'm quoting directly from the official release, the most significant modernization of ATF regulations in history. The stated goal was straightforward: reduce unnecessary burdens on law-abiding gun owners, strip out rules that courts had already blocked, and align the agency with Executive Order 14206, protecting Second Amendment rights. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said publicly that the Department of Justice is ending the weaponization of federal authority against law-abiding gun owners. That is not a gun rights group saying that. That is the Department of Justice. Now let's talk about exactly what changed, because some of these are already final and in effect right now, and some are still in the proposal stage where your voice can still influence the outcome. Change number 1, and for most gun owners, this is the one that hits the wallet immediately. The $200 NFA tax stamp is gone. Since 1934, 92 years, every American who wanted to legally own a suppressor, a short-barreled rifle, a short-barreled shotgun, or any other NFA-regulated item had to pay a $200 federal tax stamp. Every single time. For a family that owns multiple NFA items, that cost added up to hundreds or thousands of dollars over the years, just for the privilege of exercising a right the Constitution already gave you. As of January 1st, 2026, that $200 fee is effectively zero. Gone. The NFA registration process itself, the Form 4, the background check, the wait, that remains in place. But the fee that has existed since Franklin Roosevelt signed the National Firearms Act is no longer a barrier between you and legal ownership. If you have been sitting on the fence about a suppressor purely because of cost, that fence just came down. What you need to know: the $0 fee applies to suppressors, SBRs, SBSS, and AOWs. It does not apply to machine guns. State laws are completely unaffected. If your state bans suppressors, the federal fee change does nothing for you. Know your state before you act on this. Change number 2. And this one has been 3 years in the making. Stabilizing braces are back. In 2023, the Biden-era ATF issued a rule reclassifying pistols equipped with stabilizing braces as short-barreled rifles, suddenly making millions of legally purchased firearms subject to NFA regulation. Gun owners were told to register, modify, or destroy accessories they had bought in good faith and owned legally for years. Federal courts pushed back almost immediately. The rule was blocked, challenged, and effectively dead by 2024. Now, as part of this 34-rule package, the ATF has moved to formally repeal that classification entirely. AR-style pistols with stabilizing braces are not treated as SBRs at the federal level. The regulatory language that created that mess is being removed. One critical caveat. The ATF has noted in 2026 court filings that it retains case-by-case authority for configurations that appear specifically designed to be fired from the shoulder. And state laws in places like California, New York, and Illinois remain completely separate and can still be stricter. If your build is in a state with its own brace regulations, the federal repeal does not automatically protect you. Change number 3, and if you own any NFA item and ever travel, pay close attention to this one. Traveling with NFA firearms just became dramatically simpler. Under current law, if you own a registered NFA firearm and want to transport it across state lines, you first have to submit paperwork to the ATF and wait for written approval before you leave. Miss that step, and you are potentially looking at a federal felony, regardless of whether the firearm is legal in both states. The new proposed rule changes that completely for short-term travel. Under the new framework, travel of 365 days or less requires no advance notice to the ATF and no waiting for approval. You document it, you go. For permanent relocation or travel exceeding 365 days, you still notify the ATF, but critically, you no longer have to wait for approval before you move. This is still in the proposal stage, not yet final. But if it clears the comment period, the era of waiting for government permission before you can leave your state with your own legally registered property is over. Now, change number 4, and this one affects every single NFA applicant directly. NFA fingerprint and photo requirements are being stripped down. As of July 6, 2026, the ATF proposed cutting fingerprint and photo requirements for NFA applications. Under the current system, NFA applicants have to submit passport-style photos and physical fingerprint cards. The new proposal makes 2 significant changes. First, digital fingerprint files will be formally accepted and codified, eliminating the need to mail in physical cards. Second, and more significantly, if you use an NFA trust to purchase, the fingerprinting requirement would be removed entirely for trust applicants. For photos, both individuals and trust holders would be able to use a scan or photo of a government-issued ID rather than hunting down a place to get passport photos taken. This is in the 90-day comment period right now. If gun reform groups flood those comments and gun owners stay silent, this proposal does not become final. That is not speculation. That is how the federal rulemaking process actually works. The link to submit your comment is through the Federal Register under ATF docket numbers. Use it before the window closes. And change number 5. This is the one the media called the gun show loophole fix, and it is being pulled back. The Biden administration's 2022 expansion of who qualifies as a federally licensed dealer is being repealed as part of this package. Under that rule, private sellers who advertised firearms, accepted credit card payments, or sold at gun shows could be required to obtain a federal firearms license and run NICS background checks, regardless of how often they sold. The ATF is repealing that expansion of the definition. Standard background checks through licensed dealers are completely unchanged. If you buy from a licensed dealer, the same NICS process applies, but the expansion that would have swept private sellers into that system is being removed. Now here is the part of this video that most channels skip because it does not fit the victory narrative, and I am going to be straight with you because you deserve the complete picture. Of these 34 rule changes, most are still in the proposal stage. They are not law yet. They go through the Federal Register, a public comment period, and a review process before they are finalized. What that means is this: anti-gun organizations know this process too. They are organized, they are funded, and they will flood those comment periods to try to reverse or water down every single one of these proposals. The gun owners, who assume the work is done and say nothing, are the reason good proposals die quietly in the comment period without a single fight. You have 90 days from publication for each rule. That window is open right now for several of these. Find the rule on regulations.gov. Search the ATF docket number, submit your comment. It does not have to be long. It has to be real, specific, and in your own words. That is what the process requires, and that is what actually moves the needle. Here is what I need you to tell me in the comments right now. Which one of these 5 changes affects your life the most directly? The $0 tax stamp? The brace repeal? The travel rules? Drop it below because I read every single one, and the answer shapes what this channel covers next. The ATF just called this the most significant modernization of gun regulations in its history. The question is whether gun owners show up during the comment period to lock these wins in or stay quiet and let other people decide the outcome for them. Go to the Federal Register, find the rule, submit your comment. The deadline is not a suggestion. Legal disclaimer: this content is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. ATF regulations vary in their finalization status, and state laws may impose additional restrictions. Consult a qualified firearms attorney in your state before making any purchasing or compliance decisions.